Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Thanks for having me.
This time we're going deep into the world of Marcus Aurelius,
Okay.
a Roman emperor who was also
Right.
a deep thinker.
Mhm.
So we've got excerpts from his personal journal,
Yeah.
the Meditations,
Uh-huh.
and Gregory Hayes' introduction is going to help us kind of understand it.
Yeah, sounds good.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
What makes an emperor, like the most powerful guy in the world,
Yeah.
feel the need to keep a journal?
That is a fascinating contradiction.
Right.
You'd think someone with absolute power would have nothing to worry about, let alone reflect on.
Exactly.
But maybe that's the point.
Okay.
Maybe that responsibility, that pressure,
Uh-huh.
is what drove Marcus Aurelius to seek solace in philosophy and self-reflection.
So maybe it's a reminder
Yeah.
that even emperors are human,
Right.
grappling with the same anxieties and uncertainties we all face.
Mm-hmm.
But before we dive into his personal reflections,
Yeah.
let's set the stage. Marcus Aurelius wasn't exactly born for the purple, was he?
You're right.
Yeah.
His path to the throne was anything but straightforward.
Okay.
It's a story of adoption, a twist of fate that began in the year 121 AD,
Wow.
coinciding with his grandfather's second consulship.
Really?
Imagine the influence that family held.
Wow. So he came from a powerful family,
Yes.
but wasn't initially destined for the throne?
Uh-huh.
What changed?
Well, fate intervened
Oh.
when Marcus was 16.
Uh-huh.
Emperor Hadrian needed to choose a successor.
Hmm.
He settled on Antoninus Pius, but with a catch.
Okay.
Antoninus had to adopt both Marcus and another young man, Lucius Verus,
Interesting.
ensuring a smooth transition of power.
Wow. A 2-for-1 adoption deal to secure the future of the Roman Empire.
That's right.
History really does have a way of surprising us.
It does.
It makes you wonder what kind of childhood prepared someone for such a twist of fate.
Interestingly,
Yeah.
the sources mention Marcus Aurelius's love for physical pursuits like
Huh.
boxing and wrestling. In his younger years, it seems he was quite the athlete before becoming the philosopher king.
That's quite a contrast.
Yeah.
The image of young Marcus Aurelius in the boxing ring versus the emperor,
Right.
penning profound thoughts in the Meditations.
Right.
I never pictured him as a sporty type.
It might seem surprising,
Yeah.
but that blend of physical and intellectual development was actually quite common for Roman aristocrats.
Oh,
They believed in cultivating both mind and body.
it makes sense.
Yeah,
After all, ruling an empire requires both strength and wisdom.
that's right.
But let's get to the heart of our deep dive,
Okay.
the Meditations.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about this collection of personal reflections?
The Meditations are believed to have been written during the last decade of Marcus's life,
Okay.
a period marked by wars, plagues, and even a rebellion.
Oh, wow.
Imagine the turmoil, the pressure he faced as emperor during those years.
I can't even imagine.
And yet, he found solace in recording his thoughts, his struggles, his insights, all in Greek.
Wait, Greek?
Yeah.
Why would a Roman emperor write in Greek?
You'd think Latin would be his language of choice.
Right.
But Greek was the language of philosophy and intellectual discourse in the Roman Empire at the time.
Gotcha.
It was the language of thinkers and scholars,
Mhm.
and Marcus Aurelius was deeply immersed in that world.
So these Greek writings give us a glimpse into the emperor's soul,
Exactly.
his personal struggles, his philosophical musings,
Yeah.
and a key to understanding his worldview
Right.
is Stoicism.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
What exactly is Stoicism,
Okay.
and how did it shape Marcus Aurelius's thinking?
Stoicism is a fascinating philosophy.
Right.
At its core,
Mhm.
it teaches that the world is governed by a rational force, a logos,
Okay.
and that virtue and reason are the highest goods.
Mm-hmm.
Stoics believe we should focus on what we can control,
Okay.
our thoughts and actions,
Uh-huh.
and accept what we cannot.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
There's a sense of empowerment in that, in focusing on what you can control,
Yeah.
especially in a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's precisely what drew Marcus Aurelius to Stoicism.
Okay.
It offered him a framework for navigating the challenges of leadership and life itself.
Sounds like he was actively seeking wisdom, guidance.
Yeah.
In fact,
Uh-huh.
he expresses gratitude to several teachers and mentors in Book 1 of the Meditations.
Yes, he does.
It seems he wasn't afraid to learn from a variety of sources.
You're right.
Yeah.
He mentions several figures, including Epictetus,
Okay.
a former slave who became a renowned Stoic philosopher.
Really?
Marcus even notes his gratitude to Junius Rusticus for lending him a copy of Epictetus's lectures.
That detail really stuck with me.
Yeah.
It shows that Marcus wasn't just passively absorbing one school of thought,
Right.
but actively seeking wisdom from different perspectives,
Mm-hmm.
which I find incredibly admirable.
It speaks to his humility and intellectual curiosity.
Yeah.
I wasn't afraid to learn from anyone.
Regardless of their background or social standing.
Right.
And this openness to diverse viewpoints is something we can all learn from, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Seeking wisdom from multiple sources can help us develop a more nuanced
Right.
and well-rounded understanding of the world.
Uh-huh.
But let's get back to Marcus Aurelius
Okay.
and how he applied these Stoic principles to his life.
Yes.
It's one thing to study philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's another to actually put it into practice,
Like it.
especially when you're an emperor dealing with constant pressures.
That's where the meditations become truly illuminating.
Okay.
They offer glimpses into how Marcus Aurelius used Stoicism to navigate the complexities of his role
Okay.
as emperor and as a human being.
So how did he translate this philosophy into action?
Yeah.
What did Stoicism look like in his daily life?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it leads us to the heart of Stoic practice.
Okay.
The 3 disciplines.
3 disciplines.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting.
It is. Tell me more. These disciplines, as outlined in the meditations, are the discipline of perception, the discipline of action,
Okay.
and the discipline of will.
Gotcha.
They provided Marcus with a framework for living a virtuous life, even amidst the chaos and uncertainty of his world.
That's a perfect cliffhanger.
It is.
We'll delve into those 3 disciplines and how they shaped Marcus Aurelius's life and leadership
Sounds good.
in the next part of our deep dive.
Looking forward to it.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
It's good to be back.
Last time we left off with the 3 disciplines of Stoicism, perception, action, and will.
Right.
These sound pretty profound. But honestly, I'm having trouble picturing how an emperor,
Yeah.
or anyone for that matter,
Right.
actually applies these in daily life. There's one thing to read about them,
Yeah.
but another to live by them.
I think that's a struggle many of us face, trying to bridge the gap between philosophical ideals and the messy reality of everyday life.
Yeah.
But that's what makes the meditation so compelling.
Okay.
Marcus Aurelius doesn't just preach Stoic principles.
Right.
He grapples with them. He tests them against his own experiences.
So it's not just a theoretical manual,
Right.
but a record of someone trying to live by these principles
Exactly.
in a very real, very challenging world.
Yeah.
We talked about the discipline of perception last time.
Yes.
About seeing things objectively without letting emotions cloud our judgment. That burning house analogy really stood out.
That's a powerful image. Marcus uses it to illustrate how we can choose to detach from the immediate emotional impact of a situation and view it more rationally.
So instead of freaking out,
Right.
you just try to see it rationally.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
He understood that dwelling on things outside his control wouldn't do any good.
Right.
Instead, he focused on his own response, his own mindset.
It sounds like a powerful tool for dealing with stress and adversity.
It is.
We all face those moments where emotions threaten to overwhelm us. I can see how applying this discipline could be beneficial.
Absolutely.
But do you think this detached perspective could ever become,
Yeah.
well, too detached?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Could it lead to apathy or indifference to the suffering of others? That's a valid concern.
Yeah.
And it's one that critics of Stoicism often raise.
Right.
But I think it's important to remember that Stoic detachment isn't about suppressing emotions or ignoring suffering.
Right.
It's about recognizing the limits of our control and focusing our energy where it can make a difference.
So it's about choosing your battles wisely,
Exactly.
focusing on what you can influence,
Right.
rather than getting bogged down by what you can't.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see how these disciplines interlock.
Yeah.
You've got perception, which helps you see things clearly,
Right.
and then action,
Yeah.
which guides you to do the right thing.
You've hit on a key element of Stoic philosophy, the interconnectedness of thought and action. The meditations are full of reminders that our actions should flow from our principles.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about when those actions are difficult?
Right.
When doing the right thing comes at a personal cost? That's where the discipline of will comes in, right?
Yes.
Accepting what we can't control.
Yes, but I think it's more nuanced than just passive acceptance.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that some things are simply beyond our control.
Right.
No matter how much we might wish to change them.
That sounds incredibly hard.
It is.
Especially in today's world, where we're constantly bombarded with messages about taking control, achieving our goals, bending the world to our will.
It is a challenge, no doubt.
Yeah.
But the Stoics remind us that trying to control everything often leads to frustration and disappointment. The discipline of will encourages us to surrender to what is, to accept the things we cannot change, and to focus our energy on what we can.
It sounds like a path to inner peace.
It can be.
A way of finding tranquility amidst the chaos.
Right.
But does this acceptance ever border on resignation?
That's a crucial question. Could it prevent us from striving to make the world a better place? That's a crucial question.
Yeah.
And one that Marcus Aurelius himself grappled with.
Okay.
Remember, he wasn't just a philosopher.
Right.
He was an emperor responsible for the well-being of millions. He couldn't afford to be passive or indifferent to suffering.
Right.
In the Meditations, he repeatedly emphasizes the importance of acting justly.
Okay.
Of working for the common good.
So it's not about accepting injustice.
Right.
But about recognizing that you can't control everything.
Exactly.
And then focusing on what you can do to make a positive impact.
Exactly.
And it's about doing so with a clear mind.
Right.
With a sense of detachment from the outcome.
Yes.
It's about acting without attachment to the fruits of your actions.
Right.
As the Bhagavad Gita puts it.
Exactly.
That's a fascinating connection.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's a universal wisdom at play here. A recognition that true peace comes from letting go of the need to control everything.
I think you're right.
And that's what makes these ancient philosophies so relevant today.
Absolutely.
They offer timeless insights into the human condition, into the challenges we all face, regardless of our time or place.
That's right.
And the Meditations provide us with a unique perspective.
They do.
A glimpse into the mind of a man who wielded immense power.
Yeah.
Yet still struggled with the same doubts and fears we all do.
It's a humbling reminder.
It is.
That even emperors are human.
Right.
And that even in the face of immense responsibility, there's still room for self-reflection, for seeking wisdom, for trying to live a good life.
It makes you wonder how those personal reflections shaped his actions as emperor, how his Stoic beliefs influenced his leadership.
That's a question we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
Right.
Stay tuned as we delve into the legacy of Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king.
We're back for the final part of our deep dive into the life and philosophy of Marcus Aurelius.
Yes, we are.
It's been fascinating to explore his personal journal, the Meditations, and to see how his Stoic beliefs played out in his daily life.
Yeah.
But now I'm really curious to unpack his legacy as a leader.
Okay.
He's often hailed as one of Rome's good emperors.
Right.
But history could be pretty subjective, can't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've touched on the issue of historical bias before.
Right.
The sources we have, especially those written by senators, tend to paint a favorable picture of Marcus Aurelius. They admired his intellect, his commitment to traditional values, and his overall demeanor. But separating the man from the myth, so to speak, is always a challenge.
So, how do we assess a leader like Marcus Aurelius fairly?
That's a great question.
What factors should we consider when evaluating his reign?
Well, we have to look at his actions, of course.
Okay.
What policies did he implement?
Right.
How did he respond to crises? But we also need to consider the context of his rule. The Roman Empire in the 2nd century AD was a complex and challenging place.
Right.
Marcus inherited a lot of problems.
Like what?
From wars to plagues to economic instability.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't exactly smooth sailing.
So it sounds like judging his leadership requires a nuanced approach.
It does.
Considering both his actions and the circumstances he faced.
Exactly.
What were some of his notable achievements as emperor?
His legal reforms are often cited as evidence of his good governance. He displayed genuine concern for the welfare of the less fortunate.
Like who?
Especially slaves and orphans.
Oh, wow.
He worked to streamline the legal system, making it more accessible to ordinary citizens.
Interesting.
He even took steps to protect children from abuse.
Really?
Which was pretty progressive for the time.
It does seem like he was striving to create a more just and equitable society.
He was.
Which aligns with the Stoic emphasis on virtue and acting for the common good.
Exactly.
We've seen those principles woven throughout the Meditations.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just about grand pronouncements or philosophical ideals.
Right.
Marcus Aurelius also took concrete steps to improve the lives of soldiers and veterans.
Interesting.
Recognizing the sacrifices they made in defense of the empire.
That's a crucial point.
It is.
A good leader takes care of those who serve the state.
Yes.
Those who put their lives on the line. But it's easy to focus on the positive aspects of his reign.
Right.
Were there any missteps, any decisions that might be considered less than ideal?
There were, of course.
Yeah.
No leader is perfect.
Right.
And Marcus Aurelius was no exception. Some historians criticize his handling of the rebellion led by Avidius Cassius.
Really?
Suggesting that his leniency towards the rebels may have emboldened future challengers.
Oh, wow.
They argue that a firmer hand
Okay.
might have been necessary to maintain stability
Mm-hmm.
in such a vast and diverse empire.
That's a really interesting point.
It is.
It highlights the complexities of leadership.
Yes.
Sometimes even well-intentioned actions
Right.
can have unintended consequences.
Precise.
And of course,
Yeah.
there's the tragic irony of his son Commodus,
Right.
who turned out to be a tyrannical ruler.
Yes. A very different kind of emperor.
Right. It's hard to reconcile the image of the philosopher king, so dedicated to virtue and wisdom, with the reality of his son's brutal reign.
Right.
It seems that even the most devoted father
Yeah.
can't always control the fate of his children.
That's true.
Yeah.
And it underscores a key Stoic principle
Oh.
that we can only control our own actions, not the outcomes of those actions. It's a humbling lesson,
It is.
and one that Marcus Aurelius himself surely grappled with.
It makes you wonder what Marcus Aurelius would have thought
Yeah.
about how his reign is remembered, about his legacy as an emperor.
Right.
If he could look back now,
Yeah.
would he be satisfied with his accomplishments?
That's a question we can't answer definitively, of course, but I think the Meditations give us some clues.
Okay.
Throughout his writings,
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius emphasizes the importance of self-awareness,
Okay.
of constantly striving to become a better person.
So it's less about leaving behind a grand legacy
Yeah.
for the world to admire,
Right.
and more about the ongoing process of self-improvement,
Exactly.
of living a virtuous life.
I think that's at the heart of Stoicism.
Yeah.
It's not about achieving some external measure of success,
Okay.
but about aligning your actions with your values,
Hmm.
about living in accordance with nature,
Right.
about seeking wisdom and virtue.
Those are powerful lessons,
They are.
and ones that resonate just as strongly today
Mhm.
as they did in ancient Rome.
I think so too.
The Meditations offer a timeless guide
Yes.
for navigating the challenges of life,
Yeah.
for finding meaning and purpose in a world that can often seem chaotic and uncertain.
I agree.
It's been an incredible journey exploring the world of Marcus Aurelius.
It has.
As we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from our discussion?
I hope they come away with a deeper appreciation for the power of philosophy
Okay.
to shape not just our thinking, but also our actions.
Right.
And I hope they're inspired by Marcus Aurelius' example,
Yeah.
by his commitment to living a virtuous life, even amidst the immense pressures of leadership.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
I agree.
The search for wisdom for a good life
Yeah.
is a journey we can all embark on.
We can.
And the Meditations offer a timeless guide for that journey.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the life and philosophy of Marcus Aurelius.
It was my pleasure.
Until next time, keep seeking wisdom and living well.